New ways of getting information from here to there between floors. For persons who are blind, partially sighted, or deafblind, independent travel can be a challenge, though always desired. This is worse in these days of COVID, where no one are anxious to come out in contact with signs, buttons, doors. They may have previously been touched by strangers. One common truth is that everyone en route to travel will eventually need to use an elevator. This can be a problem for persons who are blind as A, one needs to learn the location of the elevator, B, find the button to call the elevator, C, know of the arrival of your elevator, and D, find the interior controls and select your destination, E, know of arrival at your destination floor, and more. Kone, a Finnish mega manufacturer of people moving equipment with a daily service count of over 1 billion, has partnered with Blind Square to address the problems head on, simplifying travel interfloor and beyond with ease by touch on your own device or command using your own voice. This panel will bring insights and describe the practical benefits. My name is Rob Nevin. I'm managing partner at Blind Square and the moderator for this session. I'll be introducing the panelists, and at the end, we'll be administering the questions and answer session that will follow. In the order of presentations will be Draeger and Leonard, based in Marburg, Germany. Kone, based in Helsinki, Finland. Blind Square, based in Helsinki, Finland. First, we'll be introducing from Draeger Leonard, Hans-Jörg Leonard. Hans is the CEO. The company was founded in 1989 and focuses on integrating blind people to work life. Public institutions and government organizations are regular among their customers. Draeger Leonard's mission statement is to compensate for the loss of functionality by technical systems. Accessibility of systems is a condition for integrating blind people. From Kone, we have Yuka, Partnership Development Director of Kone Asia Pacific. Yuka currently works for Kone in Singapore, developing and managing partnerships in the Asia Pacific region. He has a 15-year career in Kone, including various positions in global business development, innovation, R&D, and new services development. He has a strong background in IoT, API economy, digital services, and business ecosystems, especially in the context of smart buildings. Very well qualified as a member of this panel. And last, we have from Blind Square, Ilkka Pritava. Ilkka is the CEO of MIPSoft with 30 years experience in application development. His academic background is in usability, cognitive science, and product design. Ilkka is lead developer of the Blind Square application. So let's advance, and Hans, I'll hand you the mic.
Hello. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present at World Blindness Summit 2021. My name is Hans Leonard from the company Draeger Leonard, DL for short. We are based in Marburg, Germany. Marburg is quite in the center of the country. Our company is an engineering company. We provide solutions for people who are blind. Our goal is to provide them with systems to enable them to work competitively and earn their own money and live an independent life. We are a global distributor for the Blind Square system, and I will be talking about the challenges that I face when trying to use elevators. My vision is roughly 1%, so I'm legally blind. I was sighted till the age of 7 years. With 20, I was still going on the racing bicycle, and I won't tell you my current age. So when I try to use elevators, I sometimes do not know, is there an elevator around at all? And if I know there is an elevator, I'm having problems to find the elevator. Then in some cases, there are different elevators. Elevator number 1 would take me to floor number 20 and I would have to change, but I do not know which elevator goes where. I'm having trouble finding the call button. Now, this is the process of trying to get into the elevator. When I manage to get inside the elevator, there are more hurdles. For example, I hesitate to just try to touch the interior because I might touch somebody standing close to me. So this is, I simply hesitate. Even if I try to find the buttons, it's no fun, especially in Corona times. It's just not hygienic. In case when I find the buttons and when the buttons are labeled with Braille, in many cases, I have to kneel down because it's easier for me to read the Braille when I can hold my fingers upright. So, and I mean, many blind people who are blind don't even know how to read Braille because many people go blind when they are elderly and they didn't have the chance to learn Braille at all. So then there is another hurdle. In some elevators have touchscreen displays. So for me, the chance to interact with these are close to zero. Then there are other questions. When I already moved inside the building, and sometimes I might even not know on what level I am. So I do not know when the elevator stops, what is the level I'm entering. I might not know what floor does the elevator take me to. And when I arrived at a certain floor, I do not know what's available there. So practically in real life, I asked people, hey, could you please push this button? Could you please take me to floor number X, Y, Z? And people are helpful. That's all fine, all good. But I also experienced that I ended up in the wrong floor. So my experience was, so I'm not really in control of what's going on. So these are the problems that I'm facing. And thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present Blind Square and the solution with Kone.
Hans, that was a really excellent definition of what the problem is, and I'm sure that participants in this webinar can readily identify and expand that too. Yuka, I'm going to stop my screen sharing now to enable your screen sharing, and welcome, by the way.
Thank you very much, Rob. And in a second, you should be seeing my presentation.
Yes, and just to confirm, you selected system sound on, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Very good. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, depending on which time zone you are at the moment. Like Rob, my name is and it's a great pleasure to be in this event, and big thanks for that for the event organizers. I think the session overall, what we have, it's a great example of power of collaboration and doing things together between different organizations. And if nothing else is remembered from my presentation, I think this is the key takeaway, because today we live in quite a complex world. So everything is interconnected, and it's really difficult for single organizations to come up with really meaningful solutions out there. So really the collaboration between different organizations, putting together different competencies is really a key in these days to come up with innovative, great solutions for different needs and purposes. But let's get going. For those who are not familiar with KONE, so maybe a little bit about us, what we do. So we have been 11 years in the business. So it's, I guess, fair to say that we are not exactly a startup anymore. We are a global leader in elevator and escalator industry, and our mission is to make cities better places to live. We offer innovative and sustainable new equipment solutions, so typically elevators and escalators and related digital solutions. We ensure the safety and availability of existing equipments in operation, and then offer modernization solutions for aging equipments. And just for reference, for example, in Europe, the average elevator is more than 30 years old. So we all know the technical development during the past decades. So there is huge improvements in terms of reliability, safety, and user experience in our industry that we can provide for users of buildings. We have roughly 60,000 people, a little bit more, and last year our net sales was around 10 billion euros. But to give a little bit more context on what the typical day in KONE is, maybe a few figures still. Currently, we are maintaining more than 1.4 million elevators and escalators globally. And we do that, and to do that, we have our own service technicians performing more than 80,000 maintenance visits every single day. So it's quite huge service operations that we are running. Every day we book more than 700 new orders and hand over to our customers more than 500 new elevators and escalators, serving 550,000 customers and operating in more than 60 countries. But what is most inspiring figure, at least for me, is the fact that with all those devices, we move more than 1 billion people every single day in the world. So I guess it's fair to say that we are playing a big role there in cities and buildings to make buildings functional and the wheels of city spinning in public transportation, in hotels, offices, medical facilities, and so on and so on. But that's enough about KONE for now. We all know that how we live and work and commute is changing. We see that the residential buildings play even more significant role than in the past for our lives. Homeowners and tenants, they are expecting better services and experiences, providing sustainability, safety, and well-being. In offices, we see a lot of upgrades and refurbishments to meet the changing ways of working and the new needs in terms of health and well-being. So on top of that, like we all have experienced, COVID has been changing the way we live, and these changes are going to remain to a large extent also in the future. In some cases, we can see that COVID has been accelerating the digitalization in built environments quite greatly. Next, I want to talk a little bit about a few key megatrends that are affecting the lives of all of us in this globe. First one being urbanization. Today, more than 55% of people are living in cities, and this is still growing. Every single day, there is more than 200,000 people moving from countryside to cities, which means that the cities are growing, and growing, of course, horizontally, but also very much vertically. And there in KONE, we have a great position to enable the future cities to be more well-functioning and buildings being more usable, and that's really in the core of what we do. Second key trend there is the sustainability, which is of course a very wide topic, including of course the environmental aspects, but then also social and economical aspects. And there, one of the key elements is accessibility for all. And we have seen, of course, a lot of positive development in terms of codes and standards in this area. But the way I see it, what is said in codes and standards, that's like the bare minimum, and we shouldn't be satisfied with that. But instead we should seek for innovations and improvements to exceed the expectations in that matter. And this brings us nicely to the third element there, which is the technological development. And through the new technologies, we can truly resolve a lot of the challenges created by rapid urbanization and climate change. And I think our session here, together with our friends from Dreger, Leonard, and Blind Square, is a good example of actually working with all of these elements. Together, we are bringing the new latest technologies to solve accessibility related challenges in highly urbanized environments. So we are nicely there touching all the megatrends that are affecting our daily lives. In Kone, we have defined our vision to be to create the best people flow experience. So very much we are focusing to end users and their experience, because at the end of the day, people who are using the building are defining if the building is good building or bad building, and serving the needs that the users have. But what do we actually mean with people flow when we speak about this? Let's have a closer look on that. In a modern building, good people flow is built from multiple factors. First of all, there should be quick and secure access to the building. And this applies to all of the users. They might have disabilities or not, but it should be quick and secure. Secondly, there should be effortless navigation. Everybody in the building should be able to find their way easily and effortlessly to get to their destination. Buildings should be designed in a way that we avoid congestion. And now, thanks these challenging COVID times, this is more important than ever, because, well, we know all the risks related to COVID. Then there should be clear guidance and timely information sharing, and this, of course, should be provided with the multiple channels, so that everybody, regardless of disabilities, would get the guidance and information accordingly. Then practical things continue, avoiding situations where we can end up to bottlenecks. And this is very much on building design, ensuring that there is enough capacity to move the buildings. Let's say, example, busy office buildings in the morning rush hours. It can be a really heavy load for people flow systems at that time. Then we should have possibility to collect the real-time performance data that will help us to, based on analytics, prevent the potential problems before they occur and cause any visible impact to the users of the building. Then next point, shorter travel times, of course, very much linked to our industry and our solutions. The smart elevator systems can be optimizing and minimizing the travel time needed in the building, and being very adaptive to different travel patterns and people flow patterns in the building during the different times of the day. Naturally, safety is a topic which can never be compromised and is a key element there. And finally, if we look, for example, office lobbies and similar spaces, those should be designed in a way that when we have multiple different people flows there, a typical example, visitors coming to the office versus the daily workers there, lobbies should be designed in a way that we don't create cross flows, because that's always creating the bad end user experience. But when these elements are well planned, we can come up with the really functional buildings which provide smooth people flow experience for all the users, being them regular people there, visitors, maybe maintenance staff, or other user groups in the building. But then let's get back to what I mentioned in the beginning, the power of collaboration and the new technologies. And let's have a look on how do we leverage the new technologies to enable this kind of co-creation and co-development between KONE and multiple partners.
As technology evolves much faster than buildings, we operate on an open platform, one that welcomes development and change. Our new elevators come with built-in connectivity and application programming interfaces, in short, APIs. They are interfaces that help machines and applications communicate with one another. APIs enable giving commands to the elevator, and the elevator can communicate with a device remotely. For example, you can choose to let users call the elevator through an app with Elevator Call API. The APIs make it possible to integrate our elevators to the wider building ecosystem and any API-enabled products. These can be native KONE solutions, your own custom building applications, or services developed by third parties. Some even beyond our imagination. Connectivity opens up the door for smart and tailored services that can improve over time and cater to the future needs of your building. KONE DX Class elevators, connecting more than floors.
Like you heard, we are strongly committed to APIs, and we were actually first company in our industry to open up our interfaces to third-party developers. And together with our APIs, we have been building up our constantly growing partner ecosystem, including very different type of smart building solution providers who we work closely together with. Some examples of these are, of course, service robotics, which is quite interesting area and rapidly developing these days. One example is Gaussian robotics, which provides cleaning robots for the buildings. And of course, they create a lot of benefits from automating tasks in the building. But from building user viewpoint, it's also a big shift because no longer it's only humans that use buildings, but when you enter the elevator, you might be traveling there together with a robot, and that of course puts some need for us humans to get adapted to also robots in the same buildings. Second example here is a KONE residential flow solution, which is comprehensive people flow solution for residential buildings, enabling access, visitor management, and information sharing in residential buildings. But lastly, and most importantly in this session, I want to raise, of course, Blind Square, the leading navigational app for the blind and visually impaired people. And together with Blind Square, we have worked already several years, and today the Blind Square app user can use the app to call the elevator, and like Hans was describing in his session and in his speech that a lot of the challenges that he faces when using the elevators. So we can make a lot of these challenges to go away through our joint solutions that we have been creating. Then let's hear also a few words about our end user and customer, about how they feel about this solution. And I must apologize at this point that the audio track is bilingual. It's partially English and partially German, but I believe it still provides very nice insights for you regarding the solution we have.
I'm using my smartphone to navigate a city. I have Blind Square running and it describes the environment to me, tells me which shops are coming up, intersections, street names, and so on. Using unfamiliar buildings would be easier if there were more assistive systems installed.
Ja, wir haben in unserer Arbeit die Blind Square App draußen auch benutzt und dann kam eben das Projekt im Gebäude Blind Square zu verwenden und das ist dann eben die logische Fortsetzung davon, dass wir dann die Kone-Aufzüge dann mit einem Modul ausgestattet haben, das barrierefrei ist und für Blinde benutzbar ist.
Using elevators can be a bit challenging, especially in unfamiliar buildings. You have to find them first, then you don't know how they work. They could have a keypad. The keypad can have Braille on it or not. You don't know which floor you are at if the elevator doesn't talk. And it's hard to know when to get off and to know where you are if you have gotten off at the right floor. So I'm very excited about having cone elevators integrated into Blind Square now.
Von der selbstständigen Fortbewegung für Blinde und Sehbehinderte gibt es mehrere Ansätze, aber unser größtes Interesse ist eben die selbstständige Fortbewegung, komplett von A nach B. Die Barrierefreiheit ermöglicht eben, dass man das schafft, von A nach B zu kommen. Also Technologie spielt eine sehr große Rolle. Man kann ja mit dem Smartphone unglaublich viel machen mittlerweile, aber im Grunde ist es ganz wichtig, dass der Mensch seinen Orientierungssinn behält und weiter schult und dass er mit dem Langstock, also der blinde Mensch mit dem Langstock unterwegs ist und auf der Basis von dem kann dann die Technik aufsetzen.
I think if Cone continues the collaboration with Blind Square and makes the system as perfect as possible and then uses its leverage to promote the solution, that would be great so that many people know about it, and I hope to see it in many public buildings.
Like we heard on the video, the user is very happy about the solution, and she was sort of like putting a challenge for us, and here today actually we are doing part of what she was wishing. So we are spreading the word that the solution is available, and we are like I said, we have been working for a long time with Blind Square, and we have also a bunch of other ideas in our back pocket, and hopefully we can tell about those in future. I must say that we are really proud of this reference case because the customer here, the training center for blind and visually impaired, I see them as true experts on this domain, and when they have selected our joint solution, which is provided in collaboration with Trägerlinjer, Blind Square, and Kone, it really shows that we have been able to create truly a solution that significantly adds value in this context, and therefore we are very proud of this, and we will continue to work further with our great partners. This said, I think my time is up, and I want to thank all of you for the interest, and I believe we have in the end of the session some time for questions and answers. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you, Jukka. It always amazes me across the times that we've shared sessions like this, the pure stats that Kone produces, the in excess of 1 billion people moved every day. And yet it remains important to Kone as a company and as an organization and as a culture to take care of people with abilities and disabilities equally. It's just been a pleasure to work with Kone as a titan, with we as a small company, but still focused on the one big issue together and in common. I'm just about to share my screen.
Thank you, Rob, for the kind comments, and like I said, we are very committed to work with our partners, and we see that combining the expertise from different parties lead to better solutions for everybody.
Very good. Ilkka, are you seeing your screen, your slide?
Yes, I am.
Very good. Then I'll hand the mic to you.
Yes, so here we have a slide that says blind square, and then it has icon that presents elevator, and it says Kone ecosystem partner. So we as a company, we are one of the Kone ecosystem partners, and I will present overview how this all happened. So I am CEO of Mipsoft, the company located here in Finland, and I'm application developer of blind square application. Those of you who have been hearing some other presentations today, I spent very little time describing blind square, but there are still some people who don't know what it is. So Rob, if you expand. Yeah, so we say that we are pioneering accessible navigation indoors and outdoors. So what it means is that we started 9 years ago outdoor GPS, and even then we were thinking it in a new way. We don't need to replace old GPS device that you can use to record your location and then you know how far away you are. And we didn't need to build something like Google Maps for turn-by-turn navigation, etc. But we needed to build something that is hands-free. So you put your phone on your pocket and it is describing your environment. And we started indoors. Soon we learned that also. So we started outdoors, but soon we learned that also indoors is problem. So we started to use beacons or Apple Indoor or what is needed, and we are keenly interested getting more open data so that we can describe more and more things. And Rob, let's take a next slide that presents blind square in a where you are. There is GPS on your smartphone, there is compass, there is even barometer, so we know when you are inside a building in which floor you are. We connect to iBeacons, etc., etc. Whatever sensors are available, we utilize them. Then we get data from open data sources. Let's say streets and addresses and house numbers and intersections. They come from OpenStreetMap, restaurant menus, so we can make those accessible. We get places from Foursquare, so we know not only the category of the place and not only the name, but also popularity of the place. Very important thing that we know which places are worth mentioning. We connect to Uber, transportation, etc., dozens of different sources. Then we add some blind square magic that turns this all into spoken text. So we support 26 languages on device, so you just listen. So very simple application to start using. You are just listening what is telling to you, and then you have some possibilities to filter things or even search places, or now you will hear how we even control elevators. And next. This all started 2016. Kone had event called Hackathon. So it was 48 hours of hacking. So they gave us developers, we were competing of the prices, and we got full access to doors, all aiming to present new ideas in the end of hackathon. So each team then had a 10 minutes presentation, and we were able to provide really nice solutions at that event. So we had a team of 5 people, and we demonstrated accessing, providing accessible doors and escalators and elevators. Yes, and next. And during the last 6 years, Kone has established model to have possibility for partners to interact with their equipments in a safe way. And when I say safe way, you can imagine that Kone couldn't allow anyone to control the elevator. So there is a strict rules and restrictions how they can be utilized, and user must be at that location. We need to verify that you are actually there, and then you have a control. And Kone can now offer the elevators with our technology enhancing accessibility. So they have a new lineup of elevators, and it is available on those elevators. And also we have seen retrofitting old elevators. So even some old buildings with all the elevators, they can be retrofitted with this kind of technology. And the next one. So navigation inside of building is not an easy task, especially if you are blind. And Rob, you can. So it is difficult to understand the structure of buildings as they only make sound while moving. If you find elevator, hard to find buttons, etc. So what we heard earlier, that all is true, but I think that very important factor here is that when building is designed in the first place, elevators is very first thing to be considered. How many elevators are needed? Where you need to access from the elevator. So this kind of accessibility things needs to be designed in an early stage. So I think this is excellent to have partnership with Kone, because now accessibility is we think it before a building has even been built. And the next one. So how it works. Blind Square can detect if building has this system available, and it will present on a main screen, and it can detect your current floor. So it knows if you're coming outside that you are in certain floor, or if you have been visiting, we have a knowledge of which floor you are, and then you just need to select destination floor, and you can use voiceover, you can use if you have Braille, you can just type Braille elevator 3. You can use speech to say elevator 3, etc. And our application is then making a call for you. So it calls an elevator, and then it starts describing when it's coming, when it's opening door, step in, when you are in an elevator, have on a screen in which floor it is, and when it's your destination floor, it is already pressed on the elevator. When you jump in, you don't need to touch anything. When you are in a destination, you will get guidance to get out. And that's basically how it works. And then we have possibilities to do even more nice stuff. So to have names for the places inside the building, so you can then call elevator to restaurants, and it just happens to know that they are in the second floor, etc. And then together with our distributors, we can do also indoor navigation, so it can even guide you to the restaurants you prefer to go. Yeah. And these projects are implemented together with Blind Square distributors. They are all experts in accessibility. They are all experts in technology, and they are or are connected to orientation and mobility teachers. So it is really, really important to have orientation and mobility teachers involved, because they actually know which routes are most important ones. And it might be that not all elevator even needs this, because there are possibly many different routes to the place where you need to go. And we need to have only 1 or 2 accessible routes, and we can cover then all needed destinations. And Blind Square distributor, they exist around the globe: US, Canada, Europe, Asia, New Zealand, Australia, and we are able to implement these in a countries where KONE exists, which is pretty many. Yes, and next one. So we, Blind Square, we have 6,000 users. We support those 26 languages, 185 countries, and we also have beta testers in many, many countries. So that is one really important part, that we are able then to do some testing with end users. And then I think we have a final slide. So I think we are ready to questions. Rob, unmute yourself.
There you go. I should have a string on my finger to do that. Just before we go back to to the audience for questions, I want to ask Hans or Jukka if there's anything else that they would like to say now in the context of this entire presentation, something else that may have occurred to you. First, Hans.
Yes, so last year my wife and I, my wife is the co-owner of the company, we traveled to Sweden, Denmark. A colleague of mine traveled to Norway. It was about giving presentation to salespeople and engineers from KONE. And it really overwhelmed me to find out how interested these people were. They wanted to know, hey, what is the current status? They were so curious to learn about the new possibilities. And this encouraged me very much. 1 or 2 weeks later, we met in London with Rob, and there was a big KONE meeting, 3 days, engineers, salespeople, and we even met potential customers. So this is something that encourages me very much to know I'm not alone with the problems that I'm facing. I experience there are so many people willing to do something, and as Jukka was saying, technology is just advancing very fast. So I think everything is possible now.
Brilliant. And Jukka?
Well, I couldn't agree more with Hans, and of course, I think best part of this kind of collaborations is that we can learn from each other, and we can leverage the strengths that each of us bring to the joint table, and in that sense, it has been really a great collaboration we have had so far, and I think the sky is the limit for the future.
Very good, and thank you. I just want to give a shout out to some people that I recognize in the audience who have we've been working with for years, or we've made friends by virtue of their participation in the earlier sessions today. But Javier, nice to see you, and Dr. Bissonette, thank you. Tom Ryan, nice to see you. Penny Harton, there are many more, but I didn't want to go past a moment without saying hello. There was a raised hand here. I see it's been taken down, but just so the group knows, questions are welcome and encouraged. And I have some parked here now, but they have to come by chat because we have a translation team working on normalizing English to Spanish and French as well, which is difficult to do with voice. So there is a question from Yeshai. How can I get a record of this webinar? And he is from Step here, and thank you. Nice to see you part of this presentation as well. The sessions, all the sessions will be available through WBU at the close of the summit. There's a question, is Blind Square available on Android? Ilka or Hans, would you like to speak to that?
I would like to speak to that. So DL is working on an Android version. Now, please do not ask me when it will be ready. This is the most difficult question in software engineering. We are working on it. We already have a new module on Android. This will be integrated. It's highly probable that it will be integrated into Blind Square. We know that people want Android. I'm using an iPhone. I'm using an Android phone as well. I want to have it on both platforms for sure.
Ilka?
Yeah, Mipsoft is tiny company, and I have been doing most of the kind of innovation and finding out leading edge technologies and how to set the bar high enough. And I have decided not to spend my time to do Android, but now together with Hans and Draker Lienert, we are going to have also Android, and of course it will not be the same app, but the most important features, and there I see really nice option that from Blind Square for iOS, we know which are the most important features. We start from those, and I will make it easy for Hans' team to implement the most important ones with really nice quality.
That's very consistent with the Blind Square approach, by the way. We're approaching 100 integrations of other solutions such as Kone into our product, but also that we focus very sharply on where we have expertise, and we look to others that have expertise that can work together with us in an integrated form to deliver the best solutions in all cases. Far be it for us to say that we are capable of doing ride-sharing systems for public transportation, such as Uber or Lyft provides, but we can certainly integrate and make it easy for the Blind Square user, all within the Blind Square application. So it's connecting the dots and working with the best of solutions that's available. And Drager and Lienert is a fine example of a developer that can meet that. So back to the questions. Hi to Blind Square, you are doing great work. Well, thank you for that compliment from our friends at Step here. Can you say how widespread or how widely used this technology is across the world? The Caribbean, question mark. So Yuka, can you take that, please?
I don't know if the question was about Kone solutions or if it was regarding the Blind Square spread in Caribbean.
We can take both. Let's start with Kone.
Well, like I said, we are present in quite big part of the world. So in that sense, we can cover also the market in the Caribbean.
Yes, and thank you. And on the Blind Square side, I can answer on Ilka's behalf that the answer is yes, that we are in excess of 185 countries globally. We're looking to conquer 100%, but this is the last 10% that takes longer. We had a nice compliment from Javier, and thank you. Congratulations to this excellent solution, and kudos to the Blind Square team. That would, of course, include Dreyer, Leonard, and the Coney team as well. They're excellent people that are working to create a better and more inclusive world for visually impaired. Coney must be proud to work with them. And thank you, Javier, for that.
I can comment that I fully agree with Javier here. So we are very proud to work with Blind Square and Dreyer Leonard.
And from Mark Gomez, just to confirm, does Blind Square work in a country like the Philippines? Ilka, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I can speak. And I actually simulated Philippines to make sure. So yeah, it looks that we have really nice data available there. So yes, it does work also there.
Rob, may I add a
Of
remark?
course. Yes.
Ilka mentioned, or you mentioned, that there are about 100 services being integrated into the Blind Square system already. Other services are coming one by one, one of which is the Moja system. Moja is a project from Volkswagen. It's currently being implemented in Hanover and in Hamburg. And since, I guess, 8 weeks or so, there is an integration. So I would like to encourage everybody who listens to this presentation, if you have ideas, whom can we connect? What technology can we connect? Just get in touch with us, www.blindsquare.com, or get in touch with Dreyer and Leonard, and we are curious to find out your suggestions and to share the ideas and do the development.
Perfect. Thank you, Hans. And from our friend Thomas in New Zealand, to me, Blind Square is the blind person's Swiss Army knife. Being able to access lift controls and finding where lifts are is really great. When you talk about escalators, would this also apply to travelators? Ilka, do you want to take that first, and then maybe Yuka?
Yeah, so we have done escalators and also have ideas how these travelators. I think these are the vertical. Is it so? Jukka knows more about this terminology.
I fully agree. We have done some trials on this, and like I said, we have some mutual ideas in our back pocket. So let's see what and when.
Yeah, and it is super important also to know which direction they are going, etc. So we have noticed that in our testing that, for example, escalators can be really dangerous if a blind person is trying to go in the wrong direction and people are crashing. So we do have solutions for that also.
We had a question from Liliana, and it was similar to a question in an earlier session where she's using the term fashion brands, and that led to some confusion. But let me read it, please. Hello, what a wonderful presentation, and thank you for the compliment. We're all very excited about this work, and in particular, the impact that this work will have. Back to Liliana, my question relates to fashion brands. Is there any interest in transferring these technologies to retail stores? Have you managed to implement these technologies in some fashion brand stores? So what I'm going to do is interpret fashion brands as being a name brand store or a brand that may have some recognition. And if so, I'll turn it to Ilka and Yuka for a response.
Yeah, first of all, I love department stores, and I actually was working on a very big department stores chain in Finland for 25 years, and I learned a lot of that and amazing service for blind visitors that could be offered, since retail stores, they know exactly what brands are located where. Nowadays, there might be branded scattered around, or then they are collected and you want to find trousers of that brand. And yeah, the data is available, indoor navigation is available. So it would be really, really nice to have such project, but it needs customer. And to have a customer, it would be nice if it would be customer who would have one system for several stores. So then it really would make sense to tap into that data and then be able to provide guidance inside and based on the brands and based on product searches, etc.
Maybe I can comment also a bit. I think this is also a bit of like a educational thing. So we should be able to better educate the retailers about the opportunity and possibilities in this sense. And I think it's a job that all of us could do better in the future, and there is opportunities to make them better understand the opportunities that these technologies can provide.
Yes,
Yeah.
excellent.
And maybe one more word. It is always nice to have a technology that is widely used. And as a sighted person, I'm blind when I'm inside a new shopping mall or even a department store. So if I'm trying to find something, it is really hard, even that I can see, because brand shops, etc. They might have all trousers and shirts, etc. And some shirts are in different places. So this would be a problem that could be solved both for sighted people and for blind.
Rob,
Sure.
May I add another thought? So to all the listeners, if you hear about projects, for example, a traffic hub there is a new plan for a traffic hub, or there is a plan for a new building, or there is a plan to exchange technology within the building. Now is the chance to talk to the politicians, to the managers of the town halls, and let them know there is a solution that makes elevators accessible. The company Kone is working. Actually, the company Kone has a practical solution that can be implemented, and we already experienced some projects where decision makers went for Kone because of this aspect, because of accessibility. And I think this can make a real difference if you go out and simply talk to anybody you know who could be involved.
Thank you, Hans. There was another question. This may be the last, and I quote, "I know that we're talking about in context of escalators and elevators, but do you have plans to expand your API service in navigating shops and tenants inside shopping malls so that we can independently go shopping here in the Philippines?" I can take the first stab at this, and then I'm going to turn to Hans because he deals with the practical deployment of these solutions. Everything we've looked at so far represents two of the three tiers that we can bring to a shopping mall or a residential high-rise in any case you can imagine. The first is the ability of calling the elevator to floor X. And then Ilka mentioned also that a second tier service is the ability of calling the elevator based on occupant. That could be a resident, or it could be a restaurant, or it could be a doctor's office, whatever the case may be. The next then starts employing blind square indoor navigation services. So when you get off the elevator, you can encounter a beacon, and that beacon would tell you what's ahead, what's to the right, what's to the left. And in particular, on your way back to that elevator, it can tell you in advance of the arrival of the elevator some really key information. A pet peeve of mine is signs that are there, sometimes in Braille, that would read, in the event of a fire, go to the nearest stairwell. Well, of course, for someone that's blind, if it's not Braille, they can't read it. Even if they are blind and are able to read Braille, they may be disinclined to read that in a public environment. How many people have touched that sign before me, etc. But that kind of information can be made available automatically. And then the fourth tier is the full navigation throughout the shopping mall in the context of the question, or throughout the residential living tower in another. But Hans, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
Oh, yes, very much so. So I would like to add the information. So wherever you would like to have a project to be implemented, before Corona, we used to travel a lot. But now traveling is restricted, and this is bad news. But the good news is, if you have a project, in most cases, it's possible to realize the project remotely. Just to give you an example, if you have a building in the Philippines and there is a corner elevator with the DX class technology, it's simply checking or unchecking boxes in the software to open up the interface between the corner elevator and blind square. When we talk about making the environment of the building accessible, we can do this. We have tools. We are able to see what's around the building, so we can define points of interest and much more. When it comes to equip the building inside, we would need somebody to place the beacons. Now, this is not heavy lifting. So it's just good for you to know, wherever you would like to have a project, it's possible to do it remotely.
Maybe adding from our viewpoint there, our API services are available also in Philippines, and like Hans was mentioning, our new connected DX class elevators are available there, and like Ilkka mentioned earlier, we have also possibilities to retrofit our existing equipments with this new capabilities. And in that sense, from our viewpoint, we can provide the connection with blind square with our equipments. And also, I would like to add that we are also very interested to work together with different blind associations in the countries to be able to articulate our joint needs in this area more broadly to the customers and decision makers, and this way we can accelerate the spread of these new solutions to the market.
Yes, and WBU has been very helpful, very helpful in bridging the introductions to the world blindness organizations that we're working in. It's important for us to know them, be associated with them, but in particular to learn from them, because that what's normal to me here in Canada may be slightly different in the Philippines, slightly different again in Singapore, etc. But the fact is that what we are dealing with on the technology level is nimble. And if we have a clear understanding, we can offer a clear solution. I think we're at the end of questions here, but what I'd like to do is go back through Hans, then Jukka, then Ilkka, just for any final thoughts or your farewell. So Hans, please.
So my final thought is, I would like to encourage everybody, if you have any ideas, just reach out to us and start the conversation. Because what's happening now is as Ilkka said, at the end, it's just a result of communication. Ilkka was invited to a hackathon, and that's where everything started off.
Who would have thought those years ago from a single weekend away, Ilkka? So congratulations. But you kind of final thoughts?
Well, first of all, thank you all. Great questions, and it has been a really a pleasure to be part of the session. And like I said in the beginning, technology is evolving fast, and there is still much we can do. So let's work together, and let's make some noise to make people more aware of the needs, and on the other hand, opportunities. That's the best way to make the shift. And now, as I said, through COVID, a lot of the digitalization is happening now in faster speed in built environment, and in that sense, that's also an opportunity to bring and update and upgrade the buildings to be more capable on providing these kind of new solutions and services. So I think we are on a good track, but of course there is a lot we can do more.
Yes, and Jukka, thank you for that, and I wholly agree. It reminds me of a short segment from a poem by Robert Frost, which says simply, "Miles to go before we sleep, miles to go before we sleep." So, Ilkka, please.
Yes, so I want to thank you, everybody who joined, and also organizers, and giving us possibility to present Blind Square solutions today. I would say heavily. So we have been part in 3 presentations. First in Waldo system, then cooperation with Sunu, and then cooperation with all these great companies providing such nice services. So thank you for letting us tell about our solution, and thank you, Rob.
No, my pleasure indeed. We've traveled through a lot of subject matter here. The important part is that this is just really cool technology, and for things to make a dramatic and important change in the problems that we face that Hans has articulated very well, we need to be clever, and cool technology is a great way to do that. So thank you, one and all. I'll call this to close, and we'll join again, I trust.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.